Hey everyone.
Hi.
I'm Mario.
And I'm Bridget.
And together we are
In the Upper Story. We're here to share stories and shenanigans and would love to hear from some of you.
And if you like our program or you want to learn more about us, please hit the subscribe button down below.
Yep.
Don't forget that alarm button too. That'll alert you every time we have a new video out. Usually Friday afternoons, noon Pacific time is what we aim for. So, Bridge,
Yes.
what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about our experience with Ash Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday.
This is a new experience for me.
Is it really new?
Yeah, well, yes, the experience that we had.
Oh, this year's
Yes.
Ash Wednesday experience. Yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
And we're going to talk about Lent.
Oh, Lent.
Yes.
So much to talk about. All right, guys. Stand by. Talk in a second.
Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. And no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams.
Welcome back, everyone.
Hello.
All right, my beautiful bride. Today we're talking about Ash Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday.
How exciting is that? I'm sure the world out there in YouTube land is excited to hear us talk about Ash Wednesday. Woo-hoo. We could have talked about Fat Tuesday, otherwise known as Mardi Gras.
Nope.
Otherwise known as Carnival in different parts of the world.
Nope.
That's the fun times.
Yep.
But nope. We decided to talk about Ash Wednesday
Wah,
and
wah,
Lent.
wah.
Well, is it a wah, wah, wah? I guess that's the question. We're trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Ash Wednesday.
Yeah.
What is Ash Wednesday?
So in the past, Ash Wednesday has been a day where occasionally I got to leave school at noon very quickly, go to church and get a big fat ash cross on my forehead. And then for the rest of the day, I'd walk around and people would say, "Oh, hey, you've got a smudge of stuff on your face."
Or if you were me in more recent times, I would have a huge smash of stuff on my head. The priest would look really somber on Ash Wednesdays and see the line of people, and then as soon as he saw me coming up, his eyes would light up and turn around to the altar boy and said, "I'm gonna need more ash." But anyway, I digress.
Oh, honey.
Huge palette to work with.
Aw.
But Ash Wednesday. So, firstly, for those who don't know, we're Catholic. And we're not the best Catholics, but we're Catholic nonetheless. And I think most Catholics are, not the best Catholics. But as we typify it. But we try our
Surprise.
best. We try our best.
Yeah.
Ash Wednesday, the beginning of Lent. And Lent is a 40-day period where the church, not just the Catholic Church, other churches, denominations will also observe this. So not to be, focused around one group, but we are Catholic. So the beginning of a 40-day plus, because Sundays don't count, day journey of observing not only Jesus' life during the period where he was in the desert, leading up to his death on the cross and the resurrection, otherwise known as Easter. It's also an opportunity for us to figure out what is up with our lives and how can we live a more holy life, if possible, more reflective time for us. And so, cultures around the world all have things they do during Lent, specifically around the church, but also on their own. So today we're going to talk more about our personal cultural focus around Lent and also what we're planning to do to give up or add during Lent.
Yeah.
And, talk a little bit about the cultural aspects, i.e. the foods that we eat or we don't eat during Lent.
Yep.
So, Bridge, you mentioned earlier that this past Ash Wednesday, you experienced something new.
I sure did.
What was that new thing?
It was a meal that we had on Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, for dinner. And early in the morning, we came downstairs and Mario's mom, Lucia, she was tearing up a storm in the kitchen, cooking, and the blenders were going, and I could see that she was making mole.
So side note, my mom lives with us.
Yes.
We haven't already mentioned that. So she is also 86 years old.
Yep.
So has great intentions and great desire and lots of great experience in cooking. But as of late, it's harder for her to cook, so we do most of the cooking. But this is a special meal, so.
I didn't know that there was a special meal for Lent. And being that I am still discovering my new multicultural marriage and family.
Go figure.
I learned something new every once in a while. So we came downstairs. She was making mole, which was awesome. And then there was something else. She was whipping up some egg whites, and one of Mario's brothers had gone to this Mexican market for
Dried shrimp. Dried shrimp powder, to be exact. Yummy. Bridget's favorite.
I'm not sure that I would describe what ended up being our dinner as yummy.
Okay, so side note, traditionally, first of all, Wednesday, beginning of Lent, is a more of a fasting day. So you're not going to have all these meals throughout the day or snacks throughout the day. So the church wants you to have a time to, there's a little bit of sacrifice, which is good because there's plenty of periods throughout the year that we are indulging. So a little bit of time to, to take it back a bit is okay.
I never knew that.
However, Wednesday's main meal,
Yeah.
which is the only big meal for the day, it consists, in our family, consists of mole with nopales, that's cactus.
That's pretty good.
And with tortas de camarón. With tortas, in this case, in Mexican culture, are egg omelets. And they're small omelets. In this case, they are mixed well with shrimp powder. So it gives a shrimp feel to it. Sometimes you can add actual shrimp. In this case, with shrimp powder. And it's fried, and it's added to the mole. And it's probably, for my opinion, not the tastiest meal. Maybe some people out there would disagree. Overall, I grew up not enjoying it. However, Bridget got to participate in a little bit of my experience growing up.
Yeah, I kind of felt like we too were on the cross.
Oh gosh, well,
sacrificing ourselves.
Yeah, it's a very extreme perspective, but it felt like, I mean, I guess that's part of the deal. That's part of Lent.
Woo!
Get it started.
Yep.
So it wasn't the best meal. I participated in with or helping my mom with, finishing the meal.
Yeah.
She couldn't finish it. I've never done it.
I didn't want to finish it.
And so I should blame myself for it not tasting very good. So sorry, Mom, that wasn't the case. It was my fault.
It's okay.
But that was the entry point to Lent 2022.
Yeah.
Ash Wednesday, we unfortunately did not participate in the Ash. We tried our best to go to find a church, and we couldn't do it based on other
No ashes
tests.
for us this year.
But, it's not an obligatory day. It's not a day of obligation. However, a lot of people go to that day to participate in that kind of communion with other folks and receiving Ash. So, moving along.
Mm-hmm.
Bridge?
So, my question to you, Mario, is what does or has Lent meant to you? What does it mean to you?
Good question. So, I think growing up, Lent and this time of year has always been a bummer. Firstly, not only Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, you're supposed to have fast and have a really crappy meal, which you're not supposed to, but we did. And then Fridays are meatless, and that's fine. We're pretty much pescatarians on Fridays anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just a sense of like a downer period. And I never, this is not a time to be excited about, although my birthday tends to be towards the end of Lent, sometimes in Easter. So that part of it is okay. But everything before that was always about praying and, focusing on church activities growing up. My dad and my mom took us to church quite a bit during this time. But as an adult, I realized it wasn't, you would take something out of your life, right? You pull something out, and it was about, sacrificing something, which was okay. Sometimes I'd give it up beer or alcohol, which was fine, or sweet, or, something special,
Why would you do that?
which is good. It's fine. Oh. But it was always a sense of like a downer. So for me, overall, to answer your question, Lent was the sense of, a little bit of depression, which is fine. I think that's okay to have a moment in time taken out of the year.
Hey guys, let's plan for some depression.
Yeah. And bring some joy at the end of it during Easter and moving that forward. So it's a time to rejoice, a time of preparation to enjoy life afterwards. But we'll talk a little more about what we're doing this year. Not so much giving up, but adding. So, Bridge, what about you? What does Lent mean to you?
So Lent in the past always meant that usually on January 1st, I would start some sort of diet, and then I'd forget about it within 2 weeks. And then Lent was kind of my
Continuation?
yeah,
Like catch
yeah.
up?
It was like, oh, right, I have to give something up.
You just gave up being popular for a little bit, right? Like, oh my gosh, I have to stop being popular.
Yeah, no, not that one. That was
Oh,
not.
you never
not
gave
the
that one up.
case. No, that just wasn't the case to begin with. But I guess I was kind of popular. But no, yeah. So it was always just getting rid of something, having to sacrifice something that you wanted. And that was kind of it for me. I didn't really see past that. I knew that it was because, Jesus had, like given up his life or whatever.
Or whatever.
So fine, I'll give something up like candy or, I don't think I ever did alcohol. I wasn't
big
willing.
one. It's a hard one.
There are just some things I'm not willing to sacrifice, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, over the past couple of years, though, I've really thought about it, and it, while Lent is something that it's a time for reflection, I don't necessarily think that means that we have to be depressed or that this is a horrible, wretched time.
Self-flatulate and hurt ourselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or self-flatulate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good either. Oh, that hurts us too.
Hurts me more than her when she self-flatulates.
It's okay. So I kind of thought it would be good to add something or to, think about, small acts of kindness or gratitude or, something along those lines and adding something positive into our lives versus, taking something out or away.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, so I may add that we both are Catholic and grew up Catholic in different various degrees. We've gone through the church. And so I think we're exploring our lives together through the lens of being Catholic as a married couple.
Yep.
And so we're still learning. We're still growing in our life together, being married under the Catholic Church and just experiencing that. So, we're learning. Yep. So this is a new adventure for us.
Yeah.
Now, talking about Lent, what are we going to do this year? What are we giving up? What are we adding on?
So we're adding something, and it is a book that we are listening to each night, and it's based off of our patron saint.
So, side note, as a couple, we decided we would have a patron saint of our marriage.
Yeah.
And our patron saint is the little flower, Saint Therese de Lisieux, which if you don't know much about her, I would look her up. She's an amazing
She's
saint.
Awesome.
She was a nun at the turn of the previous century, so lived in the late 1800s into, I think, early 1900s, but maybe I can't remember the specific day she died. She didn't have a long life. She put together notes, letters that she would write to a priest friend, and that became a book, essentially a story of her life. And she's called The Little Flower because she was tiny and she was ill and frail in her life at the convent. But she was tremendous in her relationship and understanding her relationship with God, with Jesus specifically.
She was the underdog.
She was the underdog. And she presented to the world a new way to have a relationship with God. Maybe not a new way, but it discovered that this is a way that people forget about. Yeah. That God is loving, God is here for us and cares about us throughout. So, we've taken her as our patron saint. We got married, side note, on October 3rd, which happens to be her feast day.
Yeah. Unbeknownst to us, we had chosen that day. We had a couple of dates that we could choose for our venue, our original venue. And October 3rd was one of those dates. And we chose it. And then we found out after that.
It was her day.
Yeah.
So
So
she's
cool.
looking down on us. She's
Yeah.
helping us out. We do a lot of novenas and for her and ask for intercessions. Obviously, God's answering the prayers, so we're not praying to these saints. We're asking for intercessions. They're our prayer partners.
Yep.
So the book. It's called. I'll put it up, the link on the video, but it's called "The Little Way of Lent," and it is our meditations in the spirit of Saint Therese of Lisieux. It's written by Father Gary Castor. So we just started this book, and so far so good. It's not a very long book. I think it's about 5 minutes or 7 minutes a night of listening through Audible in this case, and but it really helps put ourselves in the mindset. So together with that, I'm adding more prayer time, either formal through rosary prayer or just informal through meditation, talking to God time on a regular.
And I'm making sure that he's praying for me.
Yes, well, that's part of our job as a married couple. Is to make sure, you got to make sure I get to heaven, and I'm going to make sure you get to heaven there as well.
Yeah, he has a much bigger task ahead of him than I do.
So, yeah, that kind of wraps up our Ash Wednesday event and Lent. We'll give you guys updates as we go, as Lent progresses, and kind of give you more information. So, technically, this year we didn't remove anything, but we're adding more prayer time, formal prayer time, reading, reflections on Lent. And so that's our focus for this year.
Yep.
What is yours? Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear about it. So that wraps up another episode of In the Upper Story.
We'd love to hear from some of you in the comments below. And please let us know. Have you given something up for Lent? Have you added something for Lent? Let's get it going, peeps.
Yep. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And
we'll see you next time
on
In the Upper Story.
Bye.
Bye.
And no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams.